Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. You have tuned in to the Rebel News live stream. It is Tuesday, August 4th, 2020. And I know what you're saying. Usually you see the big boss man himself, Ezra Levant, in this chair. But as you know, every Tuesday and Thursday, it is Sheila Gunn Reid and myself that are co-hosting the show. And I know what you're saying now. What happened to Sheila Gunn Reid? Did she transition? No, thank goodness gracious she did not. Sheila Gunn Reid is driving in the hinterland of British Columbia, I believe, right now. So she couldn't make today's show, but in her place, I have the wonderful, high-energy Andrew Says. How you doing, Andrew?
What did you say, hinterland?
Hinterland. You know,
What's
like
that?
Hinterland Who's Who. Remember those little vignettes?
No, I don't actually.
Do they still air those anymore, folks? What was your... First topic, what was your favorite Hinterland Who's Who?
It's best if you just ignore David Menzies for the first 2 minutes of the show. We're here with you live. Hope you enjoyed your civic holiday, your family day, whatever they call it in your province. Maybe you're in the U.S. and they don't have a holiday yesterday. Who knows? But we're here. We're to take super chats where you pay to tell us anything you want or ask us any questions you want. The more you can get David Menzies to spill the beans on topics, the better. He's an open book. And we're going to get right into it, David.
Well, how was your weekend? And let's call the day for what it is, at least here in the GTA, Simcoe Day. And now I know the Toronto Star wants to have Simcoe Day renamed. They're all about cancel culture. Lord Simcoe, after all, white, heterosexual male, what did he know? But he was a great man, and it'll be over my dead body before, well, actually, I should rephrase that. They're changing everything these days. I'll put up a fuss if they change the name of Simcoe Day. But what did you do on your long holiday Simcoe Day weekend, Andrew?
I managed to get back into the gym for the first time in months since the whole COVID thing. And I was pretty pleased with the experience, only making you put on the mask in and out. A lot of people still wore masks their entire workout. I'd probably pass out if I was forced to do that. Some people just had it under their nose, other people working out with it on all the time, and they've replaced all, at least at my gym, they've replaced all the paper towel things with sanitary wipes, like alcohol wipes.
Oh, yes.
So very shiny and sticky workout equipment all over the place.
Would you like to name your gym so that Rebel viewers can go watch you work out when you're...
I'll be live streaming all my workouts on Twitch from now on, from the David Menzies view of underneath your face.
No, but you're looking good. I can see the definition in that.
Let's not comment on each other's bodies. Let's make a point to avoid those topics.
No, you know, you're filling out that red, white, and blue shirt very nicely.
That's not...
By the way, folks, what do you think? It's just a star removed from the flag of Puerto Rico, don't you think?
We'll get all the stars on there as soon as we can. I know Justin wants to shut you up, so we'll get into maskexemption.ca.
Oh, yes.
That's the first thing we want to talk about today, because the mask cards are going out today and tomorrow, I'm told. And I have seen inner workings, David, of other cities having mask exemption cards for them. We have those in the works. We've got, I know I've seen Quebec. I know that might be a spoiler alert. That might be breaking news here. But I've seen Quebec. I would assume Calgary is coming. There's Ottawa. We've got Ottawa already. So New Brunswick. So things have really picked up in the last 10 minutes since I last checked. Get a Simcoe mask exemption card. We got them from everywhere. Speaking of Simcoe, David, you must be upset about that. We're getting Simcoe cards.
Simcoe cards. Well, you know what? I can't wait to get our own face mask exemption cards. You know, at the Queen's Park Yahoo Nation protest, you've got the group called what was it? Hugs Not Masks. I was about to say Hugs Not Thugs because Afro-Indigenous Rising showed up on Saturday.
I believe they go by AI Rising, David.
Yeah, AI Rising, yeah.
Very cool.
A lot of artificial intelligence there, folks, on the smartphones, because certainly the people don't have an excess of brain cells. So they have some of their own cards, and you know what? It's a perfect solution, folks, because I don't want to walk into a Petro-Canada or a store or an LCBO and, you know, I'm told, put on your mask, and then you got to go, well, you know, I've got a health, you know, get into a whole rigmarole, and, you know, the person's just doing their job. You don't want to make their life any more difficult. I mean, they're all masked up or behind a visor. So I just want to very silently flash my card, and there you go. It looks like an official exemption, which it kind of is, because our lawyers have gone through the act, haven't they,
We've lawyered it to hell.
Yeah. And it's your, like, Monopoly, folks. Yeah. Oh, and by the way, if you click all your exemptions, if you click that on the page, you will see the kind of exemptions I'm speaking of. But it's like the board game Monopoly in Community Chest and Chance. You get the get out of jail free card. I used to always love that. It would save me $50.
It's an amazing day when we start getting board game references too. I saw a couple wearing masks outside of on their driveway this morning. They were bringing stuff in and out of their van into their house, and they were both wearing masks. I found that very perplexing. You can see that on my Instagram at Andrew Does, and our social media person would also like us to plug news.rebel on Instagram. David, have you learned his name yet? Do you know? I guess I'm sort of giving it away. Do you know his name?
Who are we talking about? Were we talking about the guys in the back with Margaret and Alex and David, or
our social media person? He does Instagram and Facebook and Minds and Parlor, or is it Parlay? You don't know his name? He's gonna clip this if you don't know his name.
I think is the one who has a nickname the same as a baseball team nickname?
Yes.
Yankees.
Yes.
Okay, Yankees. No,
he's gonna be called Yankees now.
I believe we have a super chat.
Oh, now all of a sudden David's pointing towards super chats, you guys. This is
always being put on the spot.
All of a sudden he doesn't want to talk. Muzzle Flash says Victoria, Australia initiated an 8 p.m. to 5 a.m. curfew for 6 weeks. Have the Western democracies fallen? 8 p.m. to 5 a.m. curfew. We've seen nothing like that here. We've seen no curfews. We've seen nothing in the realm of too insane. I mean, I would wager that all of this is off the board. But we've been going down in restrictions. We're almost everything's pretty much wear a mask in public indoor spaces, and we're at like half capacity as far as I'm concerned. Don't have to wear a mask if you're eating or if you're exercising.
Well, I want to endorse what they're doing in Victoria, Australia, because as you well know, the Wuhan virus is extremely active after, 5 p.m.?
5 a.m.
From 8 p.m. to 5 a.m. because the Wuhan virus likes to party a lot, folks. And that's when us humans should be indoors so that we avoid the parting particles of the Wuhan virus. Well done, Victoria, Australia.
It's a big party place, Australia. If you remember the kid who threw the giant party years ago, they made a movie after it. It's called Project X. Look that one up.
Isn't that the Wolverine story?
No, it's not.
Oh, okay.
And I think you're probably thinking of Prometheum X, which is actually Spider-Man turning into Venom. So you're many genres off. Pooh Baker, I'll Puff Daddy, $5. Andrew, how would you describe your experience in the Canadian military? A lot of fun and also terrible.
I want to hear about the terrible part.
Another time. I need more specific super chats for more specific answers.
Because those are the best stories, aren't they, folks? The horrible
Zen
stories.
AX for $2. TTC has their exemption cards now. Yes, I've been seeing that. And I also know somebody who was told to get out of a Subway, not a station, but a Subway sandwich shop, because their scarf is not good enough. And this is in Toronto. But on the back of the TTC buses and elsewhere, they have a picture of a scarf as an appropriate covering.
Well, yeah, and at one store, I didn't have any mask, I didn't have any scarf, so I actually did this. Finally, an actual use for the necktie, and they let me in, and of course, as soon as I got in the door, I just dropped the necktie back where it belongs. So
civil disobedience.
So I've always bemoaned the fact that formal wear in the West includes this noose men have to put around their neck, but who knew in 2020 it could double as a face mask? So well done, whoever invented the necktie.
I don't think you're allowed to say nooses. You're not allowed to reference nooses. The knot itself is banned from society ever since the NASCAR incident, I believe.
Yes.
No loops on garage doors. But speaking of COVID, if you haven't seen the app that they want you to download in Canada from the government, there's a text message they sent out, and a bunch of, I think, lawyers and politicians are like, I downloaded the app, so should you. I will not be downloading the app. If we can bring up a picture of that text message, I sent it to our producer here from my own phone. There it is. Help protect yourself and your community. The COVID app lets users know if they've been exposed to COVID-19. Available now in Ontario in the Apple Store or Google Play. To learn more, please call. To get tracked better, please call us. Now, some people, obviously, I don't promote such government tracking of people, but I've had to talk some people off the edge because having worked for the government, I'm sorry to tell you, but the government is not capable of doing that. Unless you're on like a terror watch list or something, all the information they're going to have from you is going to be voluntary. It's going to be a very hard time for them to actually track and spread your information at all.
And Andrew, before I respond to that, just a very quick correction. Maskexemption.ca. It's that's where our folks would go. It is one card, and you can check out your region's stipulations regarding the mask. Now, yeah, again about. Oh, there is a Toronto card, according to Mr. Producer.
There's a Toronto card, and then you can see all the exemptions.
And the other card is for the rest of Canada. Sorry, Mr. Producer's talking in my ear. I'm trying to multitask here, folks. Sorry. Go ahead, Andrew.
Let's not rely on David for anything anymore, information-wise.
No, but I mean, this business with Apple and Google Play and get registered, why don't we just go all in, folks? Why don't we just do the Mutual of Omaha Wild Kingdom thing where some big, burly guy in a safari suit comes over and knocks you out with a sedative and then staples something to your ear so that we are tracked for the rest of our lives like we do to cheetahs.
David looks for any excuse to add big burly men into any situation. Speaking of tagging your ear, though, we were going to get to this later, but I think we can get to it now. There's a story from the U.S. where there's a bear that's being tracked. They have the trackers on them and the collar.
Yeah.
And somebody put a Trump 2020 sticker on the bear's collar. And this has caused outrage, you guys.
$5,000. Oh,
yes.
Oh, the humanity.
This is from Paul Joseph Watson's Summit News. $5,000 reward offered for culprit who put Trump 2020 sticker on bear's collar. And if you go down, you can see some of the quotes. This was cruel and inhuman. It's not okay. Whoever placed the illicit sticker, it's an illicit sticker, had better get out of, what is that, moon battery? Is that the place?
Andrew, does this not speak about the insanity we are in the year 2020? There is howls of outrage about a bumper sticker for Trump on a bear who doesn't even realize it's there because, of course, the bear can't read. And yet these same people howling of outrage is saying, hey, stop bullying those nice, sweet Antifa kids in Portland for trying to burn down a courthouse. Unbelievable.
It's really a shame to see a bear in this day and age, submit to white supremacy like this bear has done.
I would say it's unbearable.
Go straight to hell, baby. A Pooh Baker L Puff Daddy, $5. Thank you to you again, by the way. Yeah. Menzoid, are there any leftist Canadian politicians or social activists that you respect, albeit begrudgingly?
Wow. You know what? I would have to think long and hard on that, my friend, because the only ones I find that I respect, for example, and we'll get to this later in the show, we did a piece on finally the city of Toronto is asserting its authority and the law in shutting down the Antifa, Black, Indigenous, Afro Rising, whatever you want to call it, illegal camp at Dufferin Grove Park. And it generated thousands of comments, and the ones I liked were those who were saying, look, I identify as liberal, I identify even as NDP, but this is not what we're about. These lunatics that can barely articulate themselves. So they more subscribe to classical liberalism, which I'm down for, but classical liberalism has been replaced by a cancel culture kind of liberalism that we see now, folks. And cancel culture is only a sanitized word for censorship. And
can we show that guy from David's video, the one who freaked out and said, "Get out of my face"? That one, when I was watching that with friends, really caused an uproar in the audience.
Oh, well, you know what? Let's if Mr. Producer's ready to run that clip. Okay, then he's going to search for that exact clip. But the point is, Andrew, I think the Liberals have shifted so far left especially under Justin Trudeau, that they're to steal that General Motors ad tagline from the 80s. This isn't your father's Liberal Party, and I'm quickly taking inventory of those
brain
in the Liberal
inventory.
Party. Well, yeah. I mean, listen, a Liberal I have a lot of time for, but he's not with the party anymore, is Dan McTeague. I mean, that was my kind of Liberal, and now he runs, I believe he runs Gas Buddy, and he tells you
gas prices,
where to go for your gas, or at least he started that. But that's my kind of Liberal. Anyways, Mr. Producer, Johnny on the Spot has some video lined up for our visit to Dufferin Grove Park last week.
You actually approached me with a comment. Okay. Oh, I see. We're going to read your palm then, I guess. Have you painted your fingernails, sir? What do you identify as?
Excuse me?
What do you identify as?
Excuse me?
Did I trigger you?
Get out of here. Get out. Get out. Get out of my face.
You're walking
Get
into me.
out of my face.
You're walking
Get
into
the
me.
out of my face.
You're in my face.
Excuse me?
What's wrong?
What the is wrong with you? Get up. I'm not allowing you to film me.
We are in a public park, sir.
I don't give a fuck.
Oh, okay.
What is your problem?
Well, we're just practicing journalism, and I believe that's...
You have your right to do that. Do you know what intersectionality is?
Well, there's a man putting a vegetarian book in my face right now, and you have a no-filled plastic bag.
Answer me. Do you know what intersectionality is?
Well, I can't do an interview right now, man, because this fellow is...
Because you're a coward. Because you're a coward.
Okay.
Because you don't want to answer our questions.
Educate me. What is intersectionality?
Intersectionality is when people of different groups get together and share in their struggles instead of competing to see which one is more oppressed.
Oh, okay. So this group is Afro-Indigenous Rising plus Marxists and I guess Antifa?
Yes. And if...
Okay.
Yeah, fascism's bad.
Yes.
Oh, okay.
Antifa stands for anti-fascist.
Do you think fascism's bad?
Why do the anti-fascists use fascism to get their message across there? Don't you find that perversely ironic?
Do you feel like you're being exposed to fascism right now?
Well, you use violence, you use vandalism. We've experienced it before.
Have I assaulted or vandalized you?
What do you think what's happening in Portland right now, ma'am? Do you think that's a good thing?
Oh, yes, it is, because the system is so unjust that, and also the protesters are not violent. The protesters are not violent. The police.
Oh, they're not violent.
The police often started the riots on purpose
I
because.
believe there's 2 members of law enforcement that might be permanently blind by having lasers pointed at their eyes.
Oh, the horror! Look at all the protesters that they injured too. They injured and incapacitated so many protesters. They still kill black people.
I'm not a sir.
Oh, what do you identify as?
I don't have to answer that question.
What is your genitalia?
My genitalia? You're extremely offensive. Yeah, I don't really want to look at your.
I find the scent in your baseball cap extremely offensive.
And I find this microphone in my.
Excuse me, don't touch it.
Don't put it in my face. Stop being hateful and stop talking. Asking me what my genitalia is?
Well, we don't.
It's extremely offensive. You are the reason people are out here. So what about your question was not transphobic when you asked me regarding my gender, what my genitalia is?
You seem to be upset that you were misgendered, so I was just trying to get clarity.
Your offensive questions. Could you please repeat what you asked me?
Why would you still be talking to somebody that offends you so much?
I'm trying to get you arrested. So,
What would be the charge?
$25,000 charge with the human rights, against human rights.
Oh, I see. You're going to have some kangaroo court come in and try me for thought crime. Is that what you want to do?
No, it's actually hate speech. I just talked to an officer. He's waiting around, waiting till you say exactly what you said to me before.
And what was...
Wow. So much to unpack there. What was your take, Andrew, watching
I like
that?
the no frills bag to prevent the camera from seeing them. A lot of fascism and capitalism going on there. We've got no frills bags. We've got Pittsburgh Penguins hat. Really fighting the power there. But the guy just being like, excuse me?
You know, I don't know, Andrew. We have, with certain elements of the alphabet soup community, they are obsessive about being misgendered, and that woman, I think it's a woman, the police officer had said, I think, ma'am or miss, and she freaked out. And so that's why I was just trying to get the gender correct. See, this is the catch-22. They go ballistic if you misgender them, and then when you ask what their gender is, they refuse to answer that. And then I thought I would just drill down to the nitty-gritty, nuts and bolts, no pun intended, folks, and say, well, what's your genitalia? Maybe I could figure it out from there. Because I think, what is it, 128 genders right now?
I think it's limitless, David, actually.
Limitless, yeah, probably is. And, you know, it's kind of amazing that she is now, or he, it, whatever you want to call him, going to the police. But the number one objective of Afro-Indigenous Rising, those are the squatters that took over Dufferin Grove for 2 weeks, and they took over Nathan Phillips Square for 3 weeks, is to abolish the police. Oh, so wait a minute. You want the police abolished, but if I say something verbally offensive, you want to press police charges to get me into a human rights tribunal and face a $25,000 fine? What is it? You can't blow and suck at the same time. You either want the police abolished as an abolish for everybody, or you do not. And so, again, it's more hypocrisy from the left, Andrew.
There's a T-shirt for you. You can't blow and suck at the same time, David Menzies. Yeah, destroy the government, but also I want human rights tribunals. And they're basing this off of a comedian being fined for $25,000. I think it was the Mike Ward guy. So now they're just like talking about legal precedent set in human rights tribunals while saying abolish the entire system. We got some more super chats here.
Okay, then.
Kurt123 for $20. Poilievre should run even if they've got something on him. That wouldn't be wise. Can't the speaker or whoever that is at least make a token gesture to ask Trudeau for a yes or no answer? The Zoom makes it even worse. Well, they're talking about the live stream from Trudeau from the other day, but Trudeau did say, I don't have the numbers in front of me. So any questioning from Pierre of being, oh, I want the numbers, is kind of just like, I want a YouTube clip, I want a Twitter clip, is what he's actually saying. So then he can title it like a Ben Shapiro video, Pierre Poilievre grills Trudeau, who doesn't have an answer.
Well, you know, Andrew, I love Pierre Poilievre, and he is a
Not enough to get his name right, though.
Isn't that how you
Poilievre?
Yeah.
We're going to have to get back to the spelling.
Okay, how do you pronounce it?
Poilievre?
Oh, my goodness. Well, that's why I failed French.
Pierre?
I'm just going to call him Pierre. If Pierre had chosen, and remember, he did throw his hat into the race, and we keep hearing these rumors there's some scandal. I would have said, damn the scandal, run anyways. Look how many scandals Justin Trudeau has been involved in, from blackface to Gropegate to his treatment of cabinet ministers regarding the SNC Lavalin affair. And now it's, of course, the We Charity, and it just seems to be like water off a duck's back. I bet you whatever's in Pierre's closet pales by comparison for what our Prime Minister has been involved with. So, or maybe it was a strategic point on Pierre's behalf, that he sees imminent disaster happening, that the party will be burnt down to its roots and reestablished after the next election, and then he'll be one of the front runners for the leadership. So maybe he's crazy like a fox, as the saying goes.
As long as he's not Bill Clintoning, let's say, they're probably willing to forgive anything he's done. But maybe Canada's not ready for the extreme politicians with hairy backstories and controversial things that may or may not exist. My favorite thing from Trudeau is not even it's almost like sometimes what they do with Trump is they try to turn the smallest thing into something gigantic. Remember the Trudeau shoves woman in Parliament? Yeah. That was so sad. For all the things that he does that are legitimately stupid, with the We Charity and everything, that was kind of a funny one that got blown out of proportion.
I agree with you, Andrew, except reverse those roles. Say that was Prime Minister Stephen Harper shoving a woman.
Of course.
That's front page
of course.
On every paper.
But we can't give in to the hypocrisy, David. We just can't.
So.
Sunshines and rainbows all over the place. Wanda Granada for $10. Andrew, thanks for your service in the military. Thank you for the $10. Shout out to my friends who went to Afghanistan. Let's throw out some names. Michael Brown, Adam Dory, if any of these guys are watching. Real Canadian heroes. One of the people that was one of my instructors on my course was actually the person, if you recall a story from years ago where Canadian base actually got accidentally bombed by Americans.
Yes.
He was one of the people dragging people out of there. So shout out to that guy. I won't say his name because I don't know if I should, but he was one of the people dragging people out of the bombs dropping.
Fantastic.
And
wow.
he's probably like 160 pounds, 6'1", this guy. So he's
wow.
a tall, skinny glass of water, and he's just, in my mind, a national hero.
I salute you all. Am I allowed to do that, by the way?
Saluting's only for officers. You salute officers.
I was in the Boy Scouts once.
Probably as a 30-year-old is my guess. If we want to show a clip of Pierre versus Trudeau from our own live stream, man, was it a long live stream. 16 days long, I believe it went, of questioning. And to the previous super chat, the gesture to ask for a yes or no answer, I mean, he said that he didn't have the numbers, and then later the woman that was on after him was just like, we don't have... She wouldn't commit to providing the numbers, and I thought that was a time where the speaker could have pressed a little bit harder, because she wouldn't say yes or no if they would give them the numbers of the crooked figures that they're giving to Trudeau's mother. And I was like, how are any children interested in what Grandma Trudeau has to say? Like, is this in high demand? We want Justin's mother out here.
It was so frustrating to watch that, Andrew, and I was almost expecting Pierre just to say, Mr. Prime Minister, is today Tuesday? And for Trudeau to respond by going, I believe we're in a day between Sunday and Thursday. I mean, everything was so ambiguous.
Every day is a wonderful Tuesday for all of Canadians.
Tuesday is a diverse day.
It is a very diverse day. So yeah, it was hours long. Barely anything got done. And if you haven't seen... Go check this out after the live stream if you haven't seen it. But the Keel Burgers, one of them has an MTV Cribs episode, you know, where they show around your house. But it's in Africa. I had my own dissertations from a rich like socialite being in Africa. But he drinks cow's blood on it, and he's like, oh, it's really good. That just screams Satanist to me. I don't know about you.
It's not just that, but how tone deaf this charity founder is, and I don't even know if we is a charity anymore or it's a real estate development company, folks.
It's true.
But his crib in Africa, it looked like a bit of a mansion, right? So here he is in Africa amongst a lot of squalor, and look at this. I mean,
it was like he was acting the whole time. He gives off the slimy salesman vibe where it's just like, oh, hey guys, welcome. And here's some motivational things, and here's a bunch of raw meat, which is fine. You're in an African village, but you also have electricity here.
Yeah.
You'll notice.
There are people literally living in huts, and this guy has an electrified, I guess, luxury cottage that wouldn't be out of place if you went to Muskoka or Haliburton here in Ontario.
Oh, that's delicious blood. Maybe I should call up Marina Abramovich.
You know what? What do you want to bet that's tomato juice? I don't believe anything that comes out. I mean, if the Kilburgers were to spit in your face, they would say it's raining, okay?
When I see elite socialites drinking blood and participating in small villages in poor countries, I think human trafficking is what I think is going on. Allegedly, nobody's saying anything. More super chats.
Allegedly.
Xanax for $2. Bring back insane asylums equals 80% less lefty voters. Let's see your statistics on that. All right, it's mostly NDP.
I think he's
Green
talking
Party.
about the people at Dufferin Grove Park, and yeah, about 50 years ago, many of those people would have been institutionalized. And I'm only half joking when I say this, Andrew, because in the 60s and 70s, we had a process of deinstitutionalization. The idea was, let's not, confine mental patients. We now have pharmaceutical breakthroughs that can control their mood swings. As long as they take their meds, they're not a threat to anyone. Can you see the fatal flaw in that sentence, folks? As long as they take their meds. And what happened is you had people going off their meds, quite literally, and now you have them in tents at parks in Toronto thinking they're a crusader for racial injustice or something.
David Menzies, pharmaceutical technician. The thing is, when you talk to a lot of these people at these protests, the ones that are most willing to talk are often the ones who clearly have something wrong with them. Like the leader, the black guy with the megaphone, I've looked into his eyes. He's nuts. He's just like, well, we're here to take back the land that's been illegally occupied. And then you see the other, probably in her 40s black lady, who I think is the leader of it, besides the guy, I call him Marcello because he looks just like a soccer player named Marcello, the guy with the afro. Or just curly hair, it's not really a fro. But they seem more, is lucid the correct term if they're more sane than not?
Oh.
But like the actual women that I think are leaders seem sane, but their arguments are insane, whereas give back all land, overturn all wars, et cetera, et cetera.
Yeah, there is like a class system amongst these people that want to abolish the class system. The black lady you're speaking of, I believe, Andrew, is Sharita Henry, who has ties to the Tides Foundation.
Is she the older one or the younger one?
She's the older one,
yeah,
I
okay,
think.
then yeah.
And she's the one that's, you don't think she's staying in a tent, folks, when it's a humidex of plus 50 degrees centigrade. No. She's at the Sheraton Hotel where rooms start at $277 a night. How does she pay for that? Well, we do know for a fact that this group, Afro-Indigenous Rising, raised more than $49,000 from the Champagne socialist community of Toronto and abroad. So I wonder how they feel about their donations going towards, luxury hotel stays. So the people that are occupying some of those tents, because many of them are empty tents, are mental patients, drug addicts, and the homeless. They're just happy to be part of a collective. That's what you see there, folks. And remind me again how it was a good idea to shut down mental institutions. But we have some more super chats, I believe, Andrew.
I think they go by AI Rising, actually, David. That was funny, though, when the girl pulls out her, thinking she's going to get you, she pulls out her room key. Actually, I stay here. That's the younger girl that I was referring to.
Oh, okay.
Her and her 3,000-pound friend. The one in the wheelchair.
Yeah, the Sharita Henry, I guess. I don't know what her age is. But
I'm not believing her disability claim. Krusty Canuck for $20. Cheers, Andrew. I'm ex-RCR and PBCLI. 20 years served. I, too, was in Afghanistan 03, 04, and 07. Well, thank you for your service, but also I got to say that probably really sucked. 7-month tours in the desert. Getting Chinese rockets fired at you from the Taliban in the mountains. That's what they do. So they don't want you to sleep. Reference he'll probably only get, building HESCO sucks. Dragon Joe.
Well, by the way, another thing to blame China on, folks?
Their damn invention of rockets. Dragon Joe, $5. So apparently referring to people's ancestry and skin color as race is now not inferring they are lesser for it, just that they are dissimilar. So dumb. I would have to hear your reference, what you're referencing, because I imagine it could sound mean, but no, telling the truth is not mean. I mean...
Well, what was spectacular when it comes to race, when I had that debate with the woman who wouldn't reveal her gender or genitalia.
Really didn't like being called two-spirit either.
Yeah, two-spirited unicorn, which I understand is a gender in the 128 genders.
I believe two-spirit is in reference to natives only.
Oh, well, maybe she identifies as native. Ain't that how it works? But she, if you watch the whole video, folks, if you can stomach it, she goes on a rant about how white people cannot experience racism. So there's no such thing on the planet as some person who is, I guess, black, brown, Asian, you name it, going, oh, I hate that white guy. That doesn't exist. Only whites, only Caucasians are capable of racism. What she bases that on, or did she learn that in school, Andrew?
That's a hot 2020 argument to use. Somewhere around 5 years ago, they've decided that they would change the definition of racism as per needing their argument to work. Otherwise, it just wouldn't work. So they got together, all the elites in the dark room, like on The Simpsons, where they all get together, the leaders of Fox and MSNBC and everything, and they're like, you know what? This argument really doesn't work. So what if we just change the definition of racism to be only those in power can be racist against the minorities who have a smaller population? But speaking of hating whitey, we've got a great video from Kean Bexty.
Oh, yes.
He went out west with big-time celebrity Mocha, and they visited some pipeline protests, and their counter-protest wasn't necessarily pro-pipeline. They were just against the way that these, let's go ahead and assume they're communists, were protesting in their small town, driving around on the outside of trucks like it's Mad Max. There was some good footage calling I don't think they were talking to Keane, but they're calling somebody a whitey and a cracker and a honky, swearing at them. All those hilarious anti-white terms that don't really offend anybody, I don't think.
You know what? That's one of the problems, I think. I once did a rant on this, Andrew, that we don't
rant?
Yes. We don't have a derogatory word for white people that comes anywhere near the N-word. I mean, as you said, cracker, whitey, honky. Could you imagine getting into an argument with somebody of a different race and he says, you honky? I mean, I would break out laughing even in a heated argument. So we have to work on, and munja cake, of course, too. So
perhaps in a different part of the world, if there was a different history involved, maybe like in Rome or something, somebody could reference your ancestors' slavery. I don't know. But I think the slavery part is what gets people offended most to do with it. Do we have Keane's video ready to go?
Let's throw to Keane's video. And in the meantime, folks, think of a super derogatory word for white people.
And
so we
super
can
chat it to us. Yeah, that's what we want, David.
So we can get some footage that we wouldn't have normally been able to because these guys are just so... Their tactics are such that our security didn't really want us here, but now we're sort of sneaking in. Hey, could I get your name? Margot. Nice to meet you. My name's Kian. So we're trying to understand the sort of the First Nations breakdown here. It was the SIMQ, or maybe I'm mispronouncing that.
We already said no consent to talking.
Okay.
So can you please give us space and move back?
All right. Well, we want to get an idea what the tactic like.
No means no. So that's it. Okay.
Well, okay. Yeah. I drove a long way to come here just to report on this story, but we want to know why these sort of tactics are being used. You know, like why is there a blockade? Why is there shouting? Why is there people in sort of militarized uniforms wearing body vests, wearing with spears? Why those tactics rather than peaceful protest?
As far as about peaceful protest, I can't comment. I'm under direction. Just no comments. I'm sorry.
Yeah. Okay. And is everyone coming back to this area here soon, or is there someone that could comment?
You have to wait. I can't speak. Sorry. Yeah.
Are you from the area here? Yeah. No, I get it. Are you from the area here?
No.
No. You're not. Okay. All right. Thanks so much for your time. Appreciate it. So I just had a relatively nice conversation with the fella here. It seems when they don't have these big group numbers, they're a little bit less intimidating and less standoffish. This is, well, you can see it right here. This is the blockade of a service road. And this service road is what would have Trans Mountain employees coming in through to the camp where they're going to be housing all of these folks who are going to be employed because of this pipeline. You can see here the graffiti on all of the Trans Mountain signage and whatnot. This blockade has been going on, from my understanding, for months, if not years, along with these tiny houses that have been built here. That is where they get their name, the Tiny House Warriors. Obviously, it is all part of a narrative, right? It's like building a medical center that has to be torn down, that they know is going to have to be torn down. It's all about the narrative here. And right now it's completely empty, which is great. That's frankly the only reason our security, which is they're standing with us, is allowing us to be here right now, because the rest of them have all sort of marched through town and are having a bit of a session over there. Now, right over here is the campground, where there has been a few local news stories about it, where young boys have been, riding their bikes, and they have claimed on social media, reported that they were called rapists, white supremacists, and the same thing goes for a lot of women who've been in the area as well. So.
Yeah, we need another table right here. You need help, Bruce?
You know, the thing we should point out, Andrew, because we didn't see the entire Keane video, and I recommend you watch it, folks. It's a fantastic video, beautifully shot by Mocha, too, is the fact that every single Native band in that area, I can't remember the exact number, has signed on. They want these jobs. They are good, well-paying, long-lasting jobs. These are radicals that have nothing to do with the Native bands that are there. And yet the members of the mainstream media are somehow pitting this as Native against whitey, the tree huggers versus the gross developers. This is a scandal.
So yeah, if you watch this full video, you'll see what we're talking about with the racial epithets being hurled. But you also noticed one guy in there, he says the protesters come from 4 hours away, and they have to cross over 2 other native nations. Might have been 3, but at least 2 native nations in order to get there. So they have nothing to do with it. And he also mentions that they're not there to be like, yay, pro-pipeline, everybody. They'd be like, you guys are being ridiculous. Stop like ruining our small town. And I would put forth that a native guy out west wearing a Jays hat fighting for his right to be able to just work is about as Canadian as it gets.
Oh yeah, that was wonderful. That's also part of the extended cut of the video. But speaking of the scene we just saw, and especially since you said they had to cross through 2 or 3 other native territories, and you did see, folks, I think it was a Ram truck? I'm wondering what's powering that Ram truck. Is it dilithium crystals? I mean,
sunshine.
They are. I assume they're getting something called, what's it called again? Gasoline or diesel out of a tank that got there via a pipeline. Again, the hypocrisy is just stunning. I mean, if they really believed in what they're preaching, why aren't they riding bicycles? Why aren't they taking canoes? No, they're using big V8 engine powered trucks.
They're portaging over to the protest site.
Yes.
Justin, I don't know, and viewers, I don't know if you guys saw it, that somebody published an article. Actually, it might have been just a tweet, so maybe I'm overblowing it, but somebody made the note of the fact that truck sales, big trucks are up in sales significantly in the U.S., and some sort of blue check mark made the point of mentioning that these are basically being built to run over protesters. So trucks are anti-protest now. Jack Krauser, $7. Actually, I missed Mike Hamon for $4 with no message, thank you. But Jack Krauser for $7. Did you see the explosion in Beirut? It looked like a low-yield nuke. No, I did not. I don't think we'd be able to show that because it goes against like horrific acts or something on YouTube. But it reminds me, I was watching the movie called Beyond Skyline last night. It was terrible. There was a nuke involved. Aliens, they're stealing people's brains to power their own armies. It's a sequel. I wouldn't recommend it.
Well, thanks for all the spoilers you just gave there, Andrew. I suppose anyone that wanted to see Beyond Skyline is now just...
They would already know the plot from the first movie, David. I didn't give away any spoilers.
Andrew, I and many of our viewers did not see the first Skyline.
You're probably right there. But no, I didn't see the nuke in Beirut.
But I'm going to look that up. That sounds interesting.
Yeah, so we've got a lot of great things. Oh, that reminds me, from the Keane video, journalistdefensefund.ca, we got to send security out there. We were privy this morning to a security bill, and let's just say it wasn't, it's not fun. It's not fun to hear these giant expenses. So we do need help at journalistdefensefund.ca because obviously David Menzies gets pushed around by Two-Spirit people, but out in the middle of nowhere, British Columbia, you're really risking. There's also something, this is a great tag for journalistdefensefund.com, actually, I think I said .ca, is that somebody came up to Keene with a spear. They were in tactical armor with a spear. So apparently these protesters are roaming around with spears threatening people who dare defy it.
It looked like something out of Predator. Yeah, I think last month, perhaps our legal fees and security costs actually topped payroll. I won't get into all the nitty-gritty numbers, but that's how much we're spending, folks, to bring you the other side of the story. So if you can contribute to journalistdefensefund.com, greatly appreciated. And Mr. Producer says we do indeed have B-roll of that thing that blowed up real good. Holy mackerel! Can we run that again? Wow,
that's pretty big, but that doesn't look like anything landed there.
Yeah, it's not up there with Hiroshima and Nagasaki, I don't think.
No, those didn't actually happen, David.
Oh, of course not. But I would imagine, and you're a military guy, Andrew, conventional bombs are of such magnitude today that you could do a non-nuclear explosion and get that kind of result, couldn't you?
Oh yeah, and then they turn people into what they call the pink mist.
Pink
It's funny that we're looking at videos of Beirut of IEDs and improvised explosives, but you only need to go as far as Portland or Seattle these days, as they were putting nails in their fireworks that they were throwing at federal officers. And there's a really funny video of a guy who said he was peppered balled by police. He's got marks, and they're just like, "What did you do anything?" He's like, "No, I was peacefully protesting, and they just shot me up." And then cut to the next clip of him literally fanning the flames of a fire at the courthouse.
Yeah, it's amazing. And the way Trump is being blamed for sending in the National Guard, and so far they've been very reserved in what they're using to put down these protesters. Once upon a time, folks, you know what happened if you went to a federal courthouse and tried to burn it down? You were shot. Oh, the good old days. More super chats.
Remember Jackass 2 when they used the when they did the embassy defense test where it's the ball bearings shootout.
Oh, yeah.
If you remember that one. I don't know if you want to show that clip, but
that might be a copyright strike. But we do have some more
for
super
$20.
Okay.
Just read today Alberta signed an agreement with feds in regards to the oil sands. Do you have more info on this? No, I don't. Go ahead and at Kean Bexty or Sheila Gunn Reid on Twitter. Ask them a question. Send them $5 when you ask them the question. They'll answer it to keep the equivalent on here.
I'm sure those two would know for sure.
Oh yes, for sure. Shout out to Sheila. She's much more adept at this stuff than I.
Oh, there we go.
Alberta, Ottawa signed deal that cuts major environmental monitoring of oil sands.
Wow. Look how fast Mr. Producer is. He's like the Flash.
He's like
Wally
an
West
octopus
Flash,
back
I would
there.
say.
He's got 8 arms.
Yeah.
Like what movie am I thinking of? I think it's I'm thinking of Independence Day when they cut to inside the alien mothership and the aliens controlling 86 screens. That's pretty much Justin. He's coming for you. Will Smith punched him one time. Who's the other guy in that?
Who was
Jeff Goldblum? I'm sure Justin's got to be a big Jeff Goldblum fan.
That was one of those movies, Andrew, and there's so many examples where 2/3 of the movie is wonderful and entertaining, only to be ruined by the final act as it descends into stupidity. Like, let's give this incredibly advanced alien race, let's give their computers a cold via a virus and we'll win the day. Like, there's no way they would have thought of having a firewall on the mothership.
Maybe they come from a society that doesn't need internet security, David. Jeez, you got to think about these things. Kurt123 for $10. Here's a good Menzies question. Who's David's favorite CBC journalist of all time? I was young, but I seem to remember Mansbridge, Rex, and Joe Schlesinger at least had some screen presence and charisma, unlike the current flakes. I don't think he's a journalist, but I would go with Brian Williams. I think just for CBC, Olympics, sports coverage. You could call him a journalist, I guess, but do you have a favorite?
To me, it's a dead heat between
Ron
Mr.
McLean.
Dressup and the Friendly Giant.
Ron McLean versus David Menzies is one of the more entertaining videos I've ever seen.
That's a court case coming up sometime this year.
David Menzies getting pushed, and then at least he finally did the interview. But I'd love to speak to Ron McLean about like his white privilege and such. Cindy Maureen gives us $20 just saying you are amazing. Another $20 telling us which one is amazing.
Now, is that the royal you, meaning both of us, or just you?
I think it's just you, David.
Oh, me. Okay.
She's being sarcastic. Obviously, you're not amazing. Especially in a non-journalistic sense, you're not amazing. You're a good journalist, though. I'll give you that.
Oh, my goodness. Well, I did not detect that as a facetious comment, so I thank you very much. Thank you.
I want to know who the David Menzies true fans are. Not obviously you have a lot of fans, but I want to know the hardcore Menzies fans that wake up and drink and breathe David Menzies.
Yeah, who are you?
And what are their demographics?
And where are you?
So what other, you want to pull up the campaign page, Justin? We've got so many campaigns on the go. I can't remember them all. We've got the mask exemptions. We've got something with Trudeau, I'd imagine, is still going on, but I just can't remember it off the top of my head. Dead air, David. It's not good.
Justin was pointing like he was signaling where he was going to hit the ball out of the ballpark. By the way, Turning to sports, what do you make of the baseball season, Andrew? Are they going to be able to maintain this thing? There are so many canceled games. I don't think the Blue Jays have played in about a week. Tonight they have a game against Atlanta. But, it brings, into contrast how the NBA and the NHL have resumed their seasons. Basically, well, in the NBA, it's just one bubble down in Orlando. With the NHL, it's Toronto and Edmonton. But the Major League Baseball tried to have each home team, with the exception of the Toronto Blue Jays, because they got the mayor's permission, the premier's permission, but not Justin Trudeau's permission.
For some reason, the stadium's more dangerous than the arena. I don't understand.
I don't understand that either. But I just think at the end of the day, this is being inappropriately hyped up. If you have players and coaches testing COVID-19 positive, or as I call it, the Wuhan virus, that doesn't mean a death sentence, right? The U.S., especially with Donald Trump in the White House, is getting slammed as the United States of infections. Well, that's because, as we've explained before, they've done more than 50 million tests.
Some guy on HBO was giving Trump a lot of crap yesterday in an interview. And Trump's asking him where he got his numbers from about South Korea, and he's like, well, I saw it on the news. And it's like, oh, so you're saying that because you saw it on the news, therefore you're in the know. It's really silly what's going on. Like, just focus on making things better. Like, no, what is there to gain by crapping all over? I almost swore, David. By giving Trump all this guff over it. But in regards to baseball, I think there's a direct correlation, whereas if you kneel for the national anthem, you're allowed to stay. You're allowed to play. The NBA's had no problems. There's no reports of mass COVID outbreaks. But baseball is America's game, so we got to trample on that as much as we can.
Is it really America's game? I mean, really, America's game is
technically called football, right? It's called America's greatest pastime, baseball. Yeah. I watch a lot of old NFL films.
Yeah, because it's past its time. And also, speaking of its time, they've introduced a whole lot of new rules, haven't they? Like, if it's extra innings, they put a man on second. And
did they end up doing that?
I believe so.
I'm not watching.
Just for COVID, Mr. Producer says he's a super baseball player. Do you know in his intramural league he had the triples record? I'm not making that up.
How many triples is that? And how many games as well?
There's a story about how we got the triples record, but he won't allow me to tell it. Anyways, I think we have another super chat, don't we?
Listen, you're really trying to get out of.
I know he's not taking steroids, folks. I want to quash that one.
Something I was talking about with friends recently is how come there's no intramural news agency basketball or baseball league? Could you imagine playing a game against CBC or CTV?
No, there used to be.
That would be sweet.
There was a press league. I don't know if it's probably canceled for this year for sure, but there was one where you'd have the Toronto Star and the Toronto Sun. They'd all be fielding teams. I would love to partake in that. Although, can you imagine when we get up to bat how many beanballs we'd have to endure?
Oh, there'd be bench clears. David Menzies throwing the haymakers.
Finally.
Mike Hamon is a big David fan because he sent $50 in.
Wow,
thank you. David fan here. Great job, brother, and the team. Happy to see another point of view out there. Happy to see you out there, David.
You know what? That is our slogan, telling the other side of the story, isn't it, Andrew? Because really, who else? I mean, the media party won't report on these squatters, on these tent cities, because A, it doesn't fit their narrative, and B, silently, they support what these people are doing. I mean, the Afro-Indigenous Rising, true story, folks.
He gets paid every time he mentions them. I'd like everybody to know.
Because that is the squatters du jour right now in Toronto, who are illegally taking over parks, like a whack-a-mole situation. But when they were still occupying Nathan Phillips Square in Toronto, and it was illegal after one night. You cannot camp in the square, much like you cannot camp in the park. I was listening to News Talk 1010, and it was a guest host, and I can't remember her name. They had John Tory on for 15 minutes, And of all the questions I would have asked the mayor, such as, can you send in the cops and enforce the law? Well, what's the problem there? This question wouldn't have made the top 50,000 questions. And her question, Andrew, was this. Mr. Mayor, is there a way around the law that would allow the Afro-Indigenous rising people to stay on Nathan Phillips Square? That was the first question.
Could you please advise these people on how to better break the law? It's a,
exactly.
It's a sad state of affairs out there. There's us, there's True North, there's Post-Millennial, but nobody else sends people out into the streets like we do. I know there's a guy who doesn't wear sleeves on Post-Millennial. He's my latest hero. Doesn't wear sleeves on his videos. I'm just entranced by that. And then we discovered at the Conservative debates that there was a few other ones. There's a Dominion, had to shout out my French people. And then there is something else. The Westphalian Times, which I thought was a very great historical reference.
Wow.
If we have time, we can throw to the Menzies streeters he made.
Right. And this was during the debate that never happened. It turned into a fireside chat. Kind of funny having a fireside chat when the temperature's at plus 40.
I hate how it just became this new buzzword that everybody started using. The fireside chat. The
no one's
fireside
making
chat.
a fire.
There's no fire
these days.
There was never a fire.
Yeah.
There was never plans for a fire. There wasn't a fire. There was no fire animation. It's just a talk. It's just an interview.
But here comes a very sad video, folks. I went to Young Dundas Square and it just went out and asked people, can you name any of the 4 people in this photograph? Well, here are the results.
So I thought I would show them these photographs of our Fantastic Four hopefuls. We've got Derek Sloan, Aaron O'Toole, Dr. Leslyn Lewis, and Peter MacKay. And let's just find out how many Torontonians here at Young Dundas Square actually know who's who in the Conservative Zoo. Can you identify these 4 individuals?
No, sir, but I know they're very popular people, sir.
Oh, they're very popular.
And part of the NDP, maybe? I'm just guessing.
Oh, you know what? You're in the right ballpark. They are in the political
The
world.
Liberals?
Nope. Try again.
You help me out, sir.
They are Conservatives vying for the Conservative Party of Canada leadership.
Yes, sir.
And we have Aaron O'Toole, Peter MacKay, Dr. Leslyn Lewis,
And who's
Derek
this guy
Sloan.
right here, sir?
That is Peter MacKay. Does he look a little shifty to you?
Peter MacKay looks like he's a serious guy, but this guy's the most serious one about all of them. He's smiling, but I wouldn't mess with him, sir.
Do you recognize any of the people in these photographs, sir?
I recognize Peter here because of Rick Mercer. I saw Rick Mercer make fun of him a lot. That's how I know Peter, the defense minister.
So can you name the other 3 people?
No, I cannot. I know I play ignorant, but I do know Peter. That's who I can name.
If I'm being complete, I have no idea, man.
No?
No idea, not at all.
I'm pretty sure that's Peter MacKay.
Correct. Excellent.
I want to say Morneau. No?
Nope. We're just asking people if they can identify any of the folks in this photo.
No, not really.
How about yourself, sir?
No.
No.
Any idea?
No.
No? Do you know what industry or realm they might be in?
No, sorry. No.
No, they're ugly.
Who would you vote for based on the photo alone, sir?
Yeah, I can't do that. I can't base it. No.
I guess I would vote for Peter because Rick Mercer thinks he's funny.
Oh, okay,
yeah,
then.
but to be honest with you, I'd have to make a more educated guess because I wouldn't vote without reading more about the other 3 candidates because only a fool would do that.
Who would you vote for based on the photograph alone?
Her, because she's a girl.
Oh, okay, she's a girl.
Girl power.
Yourself, sir?
Is she black?
Oh, because she's black and a girl. Girl power and Black Lives Matter, I guess, right?
Exactly.
I know this is a Peter or something.
A lot of good comments in there. Oh, she's a woman. I'd vote for her.
This is why we're doomed in the next election whenever it comes.
Had a couple good mentions in the general chat there. We had a suggestion for a refrigerator side chat. I'd be down for that.
Yeah, that's right.
You grab a beer, you want one? And somebody suggested that the intramural thing with the other news teams would be like the Anchorman news team fight at the end of Anchorman 2. Will Smith shows up. I think Owen Wilson and Luke Wilson were both there. It was pretty good. I don't know who you'd identify with out of the Anchorman crowd. I wish I had asked this for Super Chats earlier.
When we were doing the Generation Trudeau After Dark, for some reason...
What's that?
Well, that's when we would go to Toronto at 2 a.m.
I remember that.
And ask the drunken patrons to, come on camera. Because, I got to tell you, folks, alcohol does work in many occasions as truth serum, right? And people, drunken youngsters and drunken millennials would often yell at me, Steve Roberts, who is evidently an anchor on AM 680. I don't know if there's a physical resemblance because it is a radio show. So I don't know what is there some running gag with Steve Roberts? Because
I think I went to radio school and the gag is that if you do radio, it must be because you're ugly.
Yeah, a face for radio, as
yes,
they say.
Exactly.
Right? You know what?
Shout out Paul Cross, radio guy from Toronto.
We're down to the last 30 seconds, so do we have any more Super Chats?
No, we just have people trash talking the Leafs because I said, can we get a Go Leafs Go Super Chat? They performed terribly on Sunday, I believe it was. Yes,
correct.
It was Sunday. They'll be playing again tonight. What a miserable showing. But none of them kneeled. And to that, some people said, well, what about the general manager there saying it's unfortunate his whole team is white? I agree with you. That was silly. But the players didn't kneel. They didn't do the whole 30-minute intro that some other teams did where they put a hand on each other. They brought out a guy who doesn't even play. Yeah. Like, this is what we've got to find racism. But they do have the hashtag We Skate for Black Lives. Is that really...
Are you kidding me?
That's on the big screens in the arena.
Where there's nobody to see it.
I'm going to go out there this week. I'm going to be going around I'll say for David's sake, the Air Canada Centre, his preferred brand.
No, my preferred brand is Maple Leaf Gardens.
That's not the same building, David. You can't just be like, oh, everywhere we go is Maple Leaf Gardens.
One more Super Chat. Well, it's a new Yankee Stadium. They call that Yankee Stadium.
Yeah, they called it that, but they didn't call this
They didn't
new
become
Gardens.
prostitutes and sell their name. Anyways, what do we have for the last Super Chat before we sign off, Andrew?
I think it says, I hate David Menzies. No, I'm just kidding. Teresa, $5. Sherman was about to be banned from lobbying Liberals before he was murdered. The day after JT announced a new lobby communications, she shut down investigations. I don't know anything about that. I don't know if you do.
Are we talking about Dr. Barry Sherman and his wife, Honey Sherman?
I have no idea. But
yeah,
it reminds
I don't know if that... Well, that's an unsolved case, so
If you want conspiracy before we go, it reminds me of how they say DARPA shut down their program the day before Facebook was launched. Look into that one, everybody.
Oh, well, there you go.
I think that's it, David.
Folks, that is it. Another hour flew by. I want to thank Mr. Producer for being so excellent behind the board, and a special thank you to all those who gave us Super Chats. There's your
mask cards are coming.
So, on the behalf of High Energy Andrew Says and myself, David Menzies,
my new name,
we will see you again in this space. Might be Andrew, might be Sheila, but it'll be somebody along with me on Thursday. In the meantime, stay safe. Have a great day.
Welcome to Earth. It's in the back.